So yeah, sometimes when we do stuff and we make design decisions, we don't have it on that point, and that becomes a bit of an issue. Fashion over fit. So the fashion is our style line. You might want it where you've got your top and you don't want it, that's the bust point here, you want it slightly offset. You just want it here, or you want a curve line like this to create that sort of wide illusion. You're not going to get such a good fit over the bust because you're moving the bust point away. But as long as you're aware of that, all right, fashion over fit, then that's all design. And that's where sometimes when you try clothes on, you really like it, it doesn't quite fit perfect. The blocks are the best fitting you're going to get, but then obviously you've got design decisions. So if I say I'll show you how to do like the 2 darts here, and I'm going to have it, I'm going to put one here either side. All right. Now the easiest way is if we have this as a line, and so I'll just temporarily move my darts, combine them up. Sometimes it's easy just to move a dart out the way while you draft your style lines, because it takes less confusion. So I'm going to close the waist dart and open it up into the bust dart in the shoulder. And we do this a lot. So I'm just going to close that, because what that allows me is I'm going to draw my design decisions here. Say I wanted my design decisions to be up on the neck and the shoulder, I might temporarily move them down into the waist. So it's up to you, or I might just slash into the side seam. You can temporarily move darts and then move them into other places while you're working. I'll stick that down. So I'm then going to say, right, well I want two darts, because I like the look of that. My design's got lots of lines. I might want 3 darts or whatever, but they're not on this bust point. So I'm going to add, well, let's maybe go a short one. All right, and I'm going to add a funny shape here, and then a slightly longer one, and that's going to come like this. Design decisions. It's you know, we have to have the pattern piece laying flat because fabric is flat. So there's no point saying, well, I've got a bit of shape in it. When you cut it out, your fabric's flat. So your pattern piece also has to be flat. So I can cut along these lines, my style lines. And then what will happen inevitably when I then say, right, okay, I'm going to close my dart, is it doesn't lay flat. And I can't just do that because it's a bumpy pattern piece. That's what you want to do. You just want to squish it. It's not right. But we have to do this fashion over fit. So what we do is, this is the point, that pivot point there. So I'm going to cut one line to this piece and one line to here. So if you're not having that one, if you're just having it offset over this side, then you just cut that one line to the top of your dart. And you're going to end up with bits of extra fabric, or you're going to lose a bit of fabric, and that's this fashion over fit. So taking it from that bottom pivot point, I can cut it, try not to cut them right through, makes life a bit easier. But it doesn't matter if they do come apart like that one has. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that dart there. I'm going to keep the relationship here. I'm going to close that combined dart out here, and now you can see actually I've got a bit of wriggle room. Now the fit of the garment, this is where you've lost your fit, because I'm going to have to make a decision that this sort of needs to, it was this pivot point here, all right, and then it was a pivot point there. So I can combine them. They might not be equal sides. If I was just doing it just on this one, if I didn't have that one, I would open it up like this, and you will lose some of your, it will overlap here, and then this might become a bit baggy, but your pattern piece has to stay flat on the table. So you make a decision whether you want to open it up, overlap, and lose a bit of fabric, a bit of the fit, to make that style line where you want it to be. So I've got that pivot point there and that pivot point there, so that's what I'm going to go with. I've lined those pivot points there up, and I've lined those pivot points there up. So what I'm actually going to do is lose a bit of fabric here, so it's just going to be tighter over the bust where I've lost that piece of fabric. It's just going to pull it down a bit, and that's where the balance might be a little bit off. But this is the design decision that I've made, fashion over fit. And then exactly the same, you would just do it with your adding your seam allowances, and then these are your dart ends. You don't need to reduce them because I'm nowhere near the dart bust point anyway, so there's not going to be any bagginess. And as for distribution, this one's a little bit bigger than this one. It doesn't really matter. Again, it's what works best when you're working the pattern out. You need this to be really wide enough for your double seam allowance. So if this is a full scale, this really needs to be at least 2 centimetres, so you can add 2 1 centimetre seam allowances. It isn't going to be easy because of that line there, so what you might end up doing when you're drafting your actual pattern, rather than just having notches to match them up, you might end up putting a few drill holes. Okay, so they're chalk marks, so you can almost put like little key points for that shape line where it needs to be, because you have to think about the manufacturing process. How is that going to be marked? Just like you mark a pocket position, they put you might have a template for that line or shape or something so that they can see it, so they've got something to work to. So you really need to think about that production process. But that is how you move it, and then that's your piece there. So that's the end of that dart, and that's the end of that dart. So you've moved them away from the pivot point.